Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a concept that, well, most people think they understand pretty well: stewardship.
Right.
But we're uncovering something, I think, much more challenging, maybe even radical, hidden within it. We're diving deep into study notes from Reverend Dermaine Rose, focusing specifically on the parable of the talents in Matthew 25.
That's a powerful one.
It really is. So when you hear stewardship, what usually pops into your head? For most, it's probably,
Maintenance.
preservation, keeping things safe.
Exactly. Protecting what you have, making sure nothing gets broken, keeping the lights on. But these notes, they push us way beyond that kind of comfortable defensive position.
They really do.
They argue for a mission of multiplication, even kingdom expansion.
And that's the core shift, isn't it? That change in perspective we're exploring. The, let's say, traditional view can be quite passive, just preservation.
Right, holding the fort. But the kingdom view, as presented here, it's dynamic, it's active growth. Reverend Rose's notes, they powerfully argue that God doesn't just expect us to protect our resources.
No.
He expects them, our time, our abilities, finances, opportunities, influence, all of it, to actively multiply. And that happens through, well, faithful management.
So it requires more than just being careful.
Oh, much more.
Yeah.
It requires intentional courage, real diligence, not just, careful protection.
Okay, let's unpack that then. Starting with how the whole thing kicks off the distribution of assets.
The talents.
Right, the master hands out these talents in verses 14 and 15. And the text specifies something important. It was done according to the ability of each servant.
That little phrase is crucial.
Yeah, it implies this wasn't random. There was some thought, some intentionality behind the assignment.
Absolutely. And we really need to grasp the sheer scale of what they were given.
Okay.
Because when we hear talent today, we usually think of like an innate skill or ability.
Sure, like being good at music or something?
Exactly. But in this parable, a talent was actually a unit of currency, a weight of money, and it was a huge amount.
Huge.
Well, estimates vary slightly, but it was roughly equivalent to 20 years of a laborer's wages.
20 years. Okay, wow, that's not just spare change.
Not at all. That's significant capital. Maybe even generational wealth, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
So this really underscores the seriousness, the weight of the trust involved here. It means the assignment wasn't casual. It was a serious, you could say, relational investment.
Based on what the master knew they could handle.
Precisely. Based on his assessment of their capacity. The notes on divine trust really emphasize this point. God never gives us what we genuinely cannot handle.
Okay, that's reassuring.
But there's a flip side. The expectation is just as clear. He absolutely expects us to handle and indeed grow what we are given.
So this really shifts the focus for anyone listening. It's not about comparing your starting point, your talent, to someone else's.
No, that comparison trap is easy to fall into, but it misses the point.
The key question then becomes, what? Not how much did I get?
Exactly. It becomes, what am I actively doing with the resources, the capacity, the time, the opportunities that he entrusted specifically to me?
Right. What's my response to the trust?
That's it. And the source material defines these talents quite broadly too, moving beyond just money.
Okay, so it includes other things.
Yes. We're talking spiritual gifts, influence within your community, your relationships, your network, specialized skills you might have.
So it's holistic.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And we see this idea reflected elsewhere. Right? Passages like Romans 12 or 1 Corinthians 12 talk about different gifts given for the common good.
Some to teach, some to lead.
Some to serve, some to show mercy.
Yeah.
All distributed differently, but all intended for building up the whole community. For collective growth, definitely not for hoarding.
That makes sense. It brings the parable right into every part of our lives, not just our finances. Okay, now this is where, for me, it gets really interesting.
The action part.
Yes. Looking at what the successful servants actually did, this is the test of diligence, you could call it. They didn't just stick the money in a savings account and wait. Verses 16 and 17 say they went at once, put their money to work, they traded with it.
And doubled it.
Doubled it. So stewardship in this picture requires active, immediate, purposeful movement.
And that phrase, at once, is so significant. It shows intent, seriousness, urgency almost.
No procrastination there.
None. And this highlights that critical difference we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Seeing stewardship as just a duty, something you kind of have to do, versus seeing it as a mission.
A mission to be pursued.
Yes, executed with, well, speed and purpose. Diligence here means acting in line with the master's purpose right away, not waiting for the perfect conditions or, a better market forecast.
Okay, but here's a tension I see. If the goal is multiplication, that implies some risk, right? Trading involves risk.
It certainly can.
How do we tell the difference between, say, faithful risk-taking and just being reckless? Because the third servant, who we'll get to, he seems motivated by wanting to avoid loss, which sounds kind of responsible initially.
That's a really important question, and the answer lies in trust.
Okay.
Faithful stewards take risks, yes, but those risks are grounded. They're based on trust in the master's character, his goals, his purpose, not just wild speculation.
So it's informed risk based on relationship.
Exactly. The source material connects this kind of movement directly to action-oriented wisdom. Think about Proverbs 10. The hand of the diligent makes rich.
Right. Action leads to results.
And then there's that powerful statement in James 2. Faith without works, without corresponding action, is dead.
It's inert.
Inert. Motion or active work becomes the tangible proof of that faithful trust.
Yeah.
You simply can't multiply if you refuse to move, if you stay frozen.
Which sets up that stark contrast with the third servant perfectly. This moves us into that, the tragedy of fear and buried potential.
Yeah, his story is cautionary.
His failure isn't about lacking ability, right? The master gave him a talent too. His failure is a choice, and he tells us why. I was afraid.
And fear, as the notes point out, is just the ultimate paralyzer. It stops potential dead in its tracks.
Why was he so afraid, though?
Well, the notes suggest it stems from a really deep misunderstanding, a distorted, frankly harsh view of the master. He calls him a hard man.
Reaping where you didn't sow.
Exactly. If you see God, or the authority figure, as tyrannical, punitive, someone just waiting to catch you messing up, well, what's your natural reaction?
Play it safe. Hide. Don't stick your neck out.
Precisely. You conserve what you have, rather than risk using it, let alone multiplying it.
And that's such a direct contradiction to the kind of spirit we're actually supposed to have, isn't it? The material mentions 2 Timothy 1.7 here.
Yes, that's key. God hasn't given us a spirit of timidity or fear,
But of power.
power, love, and a sound mind, or self-discipline. The very opposite of that paralyzing fear.
So the core warning here, from Reverend Rose's notes, is really stark.
It's unforgettable, really. The servant buried his opportunity. It was a conscious choice. And the resources became useless, stagnant, precisely because they were hoarded,
Not used.
not used. As the notes put it so powerfully, the safest place for any gift is not under the ground, but in God's hands through obedient use.
Wow. Say that again.
The safest place for any gift is not under the ground, but in God's hands through obedient use.
So what we bury, what we hold back out of anxiety or maybe just procrastination.
It doesn't bless anyone. It certainly doesn't advance the master's purposes, the kingdom. It just sits there. It stagnates.
Okay. So if that's the cost of fear, let's look at the flip side. The triumph of faithfulness, shown by the first two servants.
The payoff for their diligence.
Yes. The master comes back, audits the accounts, and the reward is just profound. Well done, good and faithful servant.
You are faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter into the joy of your Lord.
That commendation, well done, that's what everyone hopes to hear, right?
It's the ultimate validation. And the reward itself, the notes break it down into essentially three aspects, three divine principles flowing from that faithfulness.
Okay, what are they?
First, there's promotion. God rewards reliability with increased responsibility.
Like the verse says, faithful in little, ruler over much.
Exactly. Luke 16.Dallier underscores that principle. Faithfulness with what you're given leads directly to greater influence, greater stewardship. Multiplying resources leads to multiplying responsibility.
Okay, promotion. What's the second?
The second is fellowship. That phrase, enter into the joy of your Lord.
Yeah, that sounds like more than just a promotion or a bonus.
Oh, it's much deeper. It signifies intimate partnership, a shared celebration. The faithful servant isn't just rewarded, they're invited into the master's presence, into his happiness over the success.
So multiplication isn't just about the stuff, it's about relationship.
It seems designed to bring us closer to the giver, the source of the gift, not just increase our own accounts.
That's a powerful thought. Okay, and the third principle.
The third is eternal impact.
How does multiplying, say, 2 talents turn into something eternal?
This is where that idea of multiplying trust really comes into play. They didn't just multiply assets on a balance sheet.
They proved themselves trustworthy.
Right. They multiplied the trust that was placed in them through their consistent, faithful action. And that faithfulness, that demonstrated character, creates ripples. It has eternal impact, meaning the fruit of their actions outlives the initial transaction. It can create generational blessings, genuine kingdom expansion that continues long after them. Their multiplication set a standard, earned them greater access, responsibility, and that shared joy. It has lasting significance.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered the mandate for multiplication, the need for motion, the danger of fear, and the incredible reward for faithfulness. So let's bring it home. What does this all mean for you listening right now?
Yeah, how do we apply these powerful, maybe even intimidating principles to our everyday lives?
Right, how do we make this practical?
Well, the notes offer some very specific steps, moving from just thinking about it to actually doing something. And it starts, interestingly, by confronting that fear we talked about.
The fear that paralyzed the third servant.
Exactly. The first step recommended is to conquer that fear of the unknown, or maybe fear of failure, by doing a really honest self-inventory.
Looking inward.
Yes. Asking yourself tough questions. Am I currently multiplying what God has given me, or am I mostly just maintaining? Trying not to lose ground. And then getting specific. What resources, maybe time, influence, skills, relationships, money, what have I perhaps buried, neglected, underestimated out of fear or just inertia?
That personal inventory sounds crucial. It sort of maps out the territory.
It does. And once you have a clearer picture of what you actually have to work with, the next piece of advice from Reverend Rose's notes is vital. Start small, but start now.
Don't wait for the perfect moment.
No. The sources give really tangible examples of what multiplication can look like today, right now. Things like, teach someone else a skill you have. Serve consistently in an area maybe others overlook. Give sacrificially, not just leftovers. Mentor someone younger coming up behind you.
Create something useful or beautiful.
Yes. Or lead courageously when a situation calls for it, even if others are hesitant. These are all ways of putting your talent, whatever it is, into circulation, making it active.
And looking at those examples, there's a common thread, isn't there?
What do you see?
They mostly involve other people.
Exactly right. The notes emphasize that multiplication often happens through people. You multiply your influence, your resources, your impact by investing in others. It's relational.
Okay, inventory, start small, and now invest in others. What's the final step?
The final step is circling back to that root issue.
Yeah.
Actively conquer the fear with faith.
Easier said than done sometime.
Of course. But the call is to consciously choose faith over fear, to celebrate faithful risks, and this is important. Understanding that God often rewards the process, the obedience, the movement, the stepping out, not just the final financial profit.
So even if you try something and it doesn't quite work out as planned?
If you stepped out in faith, trying to use what He gave you for His purposes, that act of stepping out is faithfulness. That movement matters.
That reframes failure quite a bit. It's about the attempt made in faith.
It really does.
Which brings us right back to that central tension we started with. The whole parable, this whole deep dive, it seems to hinge on this choice. Are we anxiously holding on to what we have?
Or are we faithfully handing over our abilities, our resources, our time for the sake of growth, for multiplication?
It seems that commendation, that well done, good and faithful servant, it's reserved for the steadfast, the courageous, the ones willing to act.
Absolutely. It's for those who moved when the master trusted them to.
So as you reflect on this, think about the unique mix of resources, relationships, influence, time that's been entrusted specifically to you.
And perhaps let this be the final commitment moving forward.
Yeah.
I want to leave you with this powerful declaration taken straight from the source material.
What is it?
I will not bury what God has entrusted to me. I will multiply it for His glory until He returns.
Wow, that's quite a statement.
It is. And that really captures the heart of this interpretation.
Yeah.
Faithful, multiplying stewardship. That's the standard to aim for.
So the final thought is simply, go and put your talents to work.
Go multiply.